Hello, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about our next project. So since we aren't able to do our projects as we normally do, we usually are using 3D printers or laser cutters, um, and we're usually in a classroom together. Today we're going to be doing this project in a little bit of a different way. I'm hoping that you guys are going to still enjoy it. Um, so for this project, as I hinted in previous videos, that we're going to be designing and creating a wind turbine that will generate electricity. So the idea is mainly that we're going to be finding or figuring out a way to create a wind turbine. To um, remind you of what a wind turbine is, it's just the a propeller is a name for a part on a plane that spins and pulls the plane into the air. So the difference between a wind turbine and a propeller is that a wind turbine is spun by the wind, whereas a propeller is turned by a motor that which in turn creates wind. So the difference between the two of them is kind of one is acted upon by wind and one is creating wind. So what you're going to do, you in previous days have been looking at different types of wind turbines. I just did a Google um, search of wind turbines. You are going to create your own. So obviously they're not going to be giant. In fact, we'll talk about the size in a second. But um, and one thing that's going to be a little bit different is we're going to chunk this project up so that you're doing a little bit of the write-up as we do some of the project itself. So um, first of all, let's talk about the material. So as I stated earlier, usually we use PLA plastic or wood or potentially cardboard from the laser cutter or the 3D printer, but we're going to be using kind of household materials. Um, so you could use cardboard, plastic bottles or caps, popsicle sticks, glue, tape, um, paper. Basically anything that you can find that you think will be helpful. In my experience, in future days and future lessons, I'm gonna show you some of my examples. Um, Wood has not worked very well for my first wood one. As you guys know, I have a woodworking shop and I tried making one out of wood. It ended up being too heavy. So just a hint on that, if you want to use light materials, that's going to help you out a lot. So the points breakdown is just going to be about uh, about the same as we usually do. So we're going to have 10 points for the wind turbine themselves. And how I'm going to grade that is going to be a little bit different, obviously, because we're not able to I'm not able to print it out on the 3D printer or anything like that. So some of the parameters. So these are what our limitations are. So made out of a household material. So essentially, I'm leaving this pretty wide open as far as what you can and can't use. Obviously, I want you to be safe, so I would really like you to stay away from using um, anything that's sharp or dangerous or anything like that. But and typically anything that's sharp, like for instance, like metal or some, like I said, wood is kind of too heavy for our wind turbine. So unless you have some very light wood, less than 30 centimeters in diameter. So it can be I want it to be relatively small because the hope is that we could potentially put this onto one of the generators I have to see how much energy it will create. So 30 centimeters is about a foot in diameter. So that's pretty big. It does not need to be that big. You can definitely have it smaller than that, but it obviously you want it big enough so that you can work on it with your hands. So there also has to be a hole in the center, so that you want to be able to attach to some sort of axle or generator. For right now, you could use um, a paper clip or something like that for an axle just to see if it spins, and that's going to be kind of we'll talk more about that as we get closer. So, and you want to make sure that it's centered as possible because if it's not, it won't spin right, and we want these to spin as much as possible. So, and then generate a rotating action. So it has to be able to spin. Um, so as I stated earlier, I made one out of wood that was too heavy and it didn't spin from the fan. So we're going to try to get these to spin from a household fan. So um, steps, we kind of have already started doing the research steps. So we've watched a couple of videos, and you've hopefully already completed the scavenger hunt of finding different existing wind generators, existing wind turbines. So, and we're going to start working on coming up with our own design soon. I will have you come up with some sketches. We're going to collect materials. So we're going to break this down so that this is not a huge project, because I don't want, or I don't mean by a huge project. It will be a larger project, but it's not something that I'm going to make you do all in one day. So we're going to break each of these chunks up, and I'll assign them each day. So for instance, um, research ideas. So the research ideas was the scavenger hunt. So you guys already have completed the first step. Then tomorrow I'm going to assign rough sketches of your ideas. So I'm going to uh, upload a video, or create another assignment that you're going to paste your sketches. Then rough materials, that will be another day. So I'm going to have you actually taking pictures of each of these things, and I'll show you kind of what you're going to do with them at the end. So um, then determine how you're going to use those materials, because like obviously um, you don't want to like be wasteful with any of the household materials you're using. So you're going to have to kind of come up with a plan before you actually build it. And then again, as you build it, see if it works, and then make adjustments. So if you have to, for in my case, I had to restart, um, and then we're gonna complete a slideshow, which I'll talk about. That's not something that you have to present yet. I'm gonna talk more about that in a second. So we typically do a write-up after we've created the project, and I stated that there's gonna be a different portion of this. So I took the write-up that we usually do, and I broke it up, and we're gonna do one portion of the write-up at a time. So I created this template that you will add and edit yourself. So when you open it in Google Docs, it will automatically make a copy for you. So you can add a background. Here's my example I've started. So you can put in your background, your name. Actually, I would like you to do this slide, just this slide today. Don't go any further. If you're feeling super excited and you want to work ahead, be be aware that I might you might do it incorrectly, but you could get a start on it at least if you wanted to. But want to be just clear that we're all on the same page and we're working at the same pace. So the first slide is open to editing if you want to today, but hold off on any other slides. So after the first slide, you're going to give the description. So this is typically the very first part of our write-up. Oops. And if you look down below in the comments section, I'll show you we can make that a little bit bigger so you can see it. So the same questions that I would ask in the write-up are going to be in this slide. So you're going to just answer those questions in the slide, and then you can add pictures if you want to. I think that because it's a slideshow, it would be really beneficial for you to have some pictures in each slide, but you don't have to in this one because it's really just part of the write-up. So again, this is not assigned yet. Don't worry about starting this unless you're really looking for something to do. You can kind of work ahead because I've described the project, so technically you could do this one. Solutions and designs, I have not assigned anything for this yet, but basically you're going to put some of your rough sketches that I'll futurely assign in the future, and then describe those steps that you did to come up with those. Your final design, so like which one did you choose out of those designs that you sketched and came up with. Then materials that you're going to be using. One thing about the final choice, sorry, going back, is that you want to maybe have a sketch and a picture of your final actually built thing. So this one you might you might start this slide and then come back to it at the very end. Your materials, so you're going to take like a picture of all your materials that you used. Again, this is not something you need to do today. I just want to talk about how you're going to do it. Then your building process. So your first thing that you did, like maybe step one is collect materials. And then you'll say, like, I found my materials in the recycling bin at home. I used cardboard for the fins and yada, yada, yada. So we're going to describe each step. So you'll notice down here in the comments that it says first, second, third. This is our the process step of our write-up. So we're actually writing part of our write-up as we break down these processes into each step. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 4. If you have more than 4 steps, you can add. I want you to be as specific as possible, as always. And then, as always, we have a results portion of our write-up. So we're going to have a results page. So you're going to write about how it did, and then maybe have a picture or a video. I think it would be awesome if you could insert a video. We'll have future lessons as to how to do that in a second, but so that you can show that it actually does work and how well it works. Reflection, we always have this in the write-up as well. So how do you think you did? What did you learn? And what did you know? What do you know now that you didn't know at the beginning? And lastly, the conclusion. So basically, we're just breaking up the write-up and the project, and we're kind of mashing them together a little bit. So there's going to be some slides on here that I'm going to be looking for as the write-up. So some questions, and those questions are essentially just copied and pasted from here. So each section of those write-ups is going to be worth 2 points. And then the wind turbine itself is going to be worth a total of 10 points. And in order to get all 10 points, it must spin from some moving air. So maybe wind from a fan, or maybe if you blow on it, it spins. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me, email me, or you can comment on the assignments if you have any questions. Again, we're just going to be taking this one step at a time, and please let me know if you have any issues with materials as well. And thank you for watching.